Right, I've got the inside scoop, and by that I mean I watched Chael Sonnen's video, and he told us that Tony will be announcing a matchup today or tomorrow that's not Makhachev. He was addressing Makhachev, so that kind of rules one out of the race. I'd say it's down to two guys now. So I'd say that's RDA and Chandler, and both very good potential matchups. We'll get into it and maybe a little bit more. What are your thoughts? And who do you think Tony will be fighting? If you
Yeah, I was going to say, firstly, my thought on that is obviously Tony watched a video yesterday and thought, you know what, Will, that ain't a bad matchup with Dariush. I fancy that scrap, and he's going for that, which I'm hoping for. But the RDA fight is interesting because obviously we've done a video on that already, or sort of how we think that may play out, or if we think he may get him. But obviously the plot's thickened a little bit. Now we know what sort of happened behind the scenes with that event that they were meant to be fighting at. So for anyone that doesn't know, there was meant to be a sort of underground event. I don't think it was a charity event.
It's Chael Sonnen's grappling promotion, so Submission Underground. Yeah, so Chael is the promoter of Submission Underground, and he wanted to try and make, I'd reached out to Chael and said, make RDA versus Makhachev, Islam, he called him. He didn't call him by his surname. And so they tried making that. They was going back and forth a bit. Khabib even went to the extent of saying, look, if you make this matchup, I'll give you $30,000 and I'll turn up. So he wanted it bad. I don't know what's going on there, but there's some sort of heat. I've got some tweets here, but what are your thoughts on that situation? I need to actually pull up tweets.
Pull it up, Jamie. Well, that's the thing, realistically, is they've both come out now and almost called each other out. So I feel like there's something behind the scenes that we're just not aware of yet. There's something there. There's some form of, I wouldn't say hate, but there's some form of, they've got a bit between their teeth to fight each other. And I mean, RDA seems as game for it as Islam is, and it sounds like Khabib's just as game as anyone. I mean, to put 30 racks down on it sort of tells me that he's more than confident. And what I was thinking as I was just sitting down for this call is I was thinking, if there's anyone that knows a lightweight division, if anyone's going to put 30 grand on someone to win, if there's anyone that knows the lightweight division, it's going to be that guy. So if he's putting 30 grand on him to win, it's almost like he knows something we don't. And that something we don't is his highest level of ability. So it's interesting.
Yeah.
I must say, respect RDA for it.
So RDA put out a tweet basically saying that he wants to shut down Islam's hype, if you will. So then Islam's replied with, hey, at RDA, if you don't like all this hype around me, let's finish our business in July then at UFC. So he's called him out. Had a little bit of a back.
But hold up, let's finish our business. You don't say that to someone you've just called out randomly on Twitter. There's obviously something pre-existing. So I want to know what that is.
There's probably that little back and forth they had due to the Submission Underground, but I don't know what the actual root of the problem is. But then RDA's come back with, if your brother at Khabib, fight me after, I beat you, let's do it. You understand what he's getting at.
He thinks he's going to run through Makhachev and Khabib. That is some self-belief.
Well, I mean, Khabib's already beat him. Khabib's already beaten him pretty handedly. Makhachev then put, I'll make sure Khabib keeps enjoying his retirement. Let's go. And it's a video of Khabib smashing RDA. So
it almost feels like the dad or the granddad, if you like, has come out. He's done his business. He's done his time. He's dominated. He's got complete world domination, and he's thinking, I'm obviously that good. I'm going to chill out now. Can you go take care of business? And he's like, look, you put your feet up. I've got this.
Yeah. I mean,
that's all it is.
I respect the balls on RDA because he knows what level of grappler he is, and he knows how that Khabib matchup went. And in all honesty, RDA is probably a perfect opponent for Makhachev. Good name recognition, good style matchup. He is a big lightweight, but Islam's big as well. He's big for the weight class. He cuts a lot of weight. He's grappling heavy, which if history dictates anything, RDA's kryptonite. So it's a good fight for Makhachev, but fair play to RDA for putting it on him and saying, yeah, I'll fight you. I actively want to fight you. Not even I will, I want to.
that's a strong word to use against that sort of man. But even if we take a little bit of context from some of his training partners, and we spoke a little bit about it on the previous video, a couple of his training partners have came out and said he is the strongest person I have ever grappled with. Not the strongest lightweight, not the strongest middleweight.
Yeah.
He is the strongest person. And they've come out and said it's just not really that fair. So it's scary. It's scary. So even if you are a big lightweight, it almost doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Your size, however big you are in that division, is going to be nullified. And it was the same with Khabib. It didn't really matter who he came up against, because in terms of size, it never really factored into the conversation, because at the end of the day, it didn't really matter.
So that's an interesting one. And then obviously we've got that or Michael Chandler. So they're two potential matchups. So I do think for that Chandler matchup, right, that Makhachev's MMA grappling is just on a whole different level. Like, he may struggle to get Chandler down, but it's a case of, I think he will keep him there. And you better hope that he can, because if Chandler gets up, he's going to be there all day. He's a straight grinder. Like, he does not take his foot off the gas. So that's another interesting one as well. What do you think on that one?
I think that's why they play into each other's hands so nicely, because Chandler, like you just said, he is a grinder. He will not give up. He is relentless. He is a competitor.
G-grinder.
He is a G-grinder. So you pair that with a Dagestani, let's say. I'm not even going to just say Islam. I'm just going to say a Dagestani. We know how relentless they are. Not even just if you look at their training. I mean, in the cage, they will maul you, not grapple you, not wrestle you. They will maul you for 25 straight minutes. So it's a very, very interesting conversation to have. And I'm going to ask you a question.
Talk to me.
We spoke about before, if Islam takes RDA, which we think is quite a nice matchup, we think if it's not next, it's very, very likely to happen. It's very good brand recognition for Islam, because a very, very good name and a previous champion in RDA. And it's a very easy way to shut everyone up who's saying, oh, does he deserve to be there? Does he deserve to be there? My question to you is, would the reaction, would you say, from spectators, from neutrals, be the same if he beat Chandler as if he beat RDA?
No, I think beating Chandler is a lot more impressive. There's a lot to say in this sport about hype. Chandler's hot right now. Like, he probably the most impressive UFC debut anyone's ever made. Chandler's hot right now. He's in that. We've seen RDA lose. We've seen him beat styles, being beat by styles similar to that of Makhachev. So I'd be more impressed if he went out there and controlled, dominated, beat Chandler. In terms of like the X's and O's of that fight, I think it could play out somewhat similar to how Khabib versus Gaethje played out. You got an aggressive power wrestler. Well, Gaethje's not a power puncher.
Who can wrestle?
Yeah, he can wrestle, but he's a wrestler that's somewhat falling in love with his hands. We don't know how good Chandler's MMA jiu-jitsu is, and we know exactly how good Makhachev is. He's just such a well-rounded combat grappler. They're the best. Sambo, baby.
There's two things off the back of that. Number one, I was actually watching a few videos of people who were underwhelmed with his performance last Saturday. Now, Makhachev. Now,
absolute haters.
See, this is the complete opposite, because they didn't come from the angle of completely underwhelmed with him as an athlete, him as a fighter. It was actually because they trained with him previously, and they have seen what he's capable of, and they said they've seen him at such a level that even what we saw on Saturday, even though it was what it was, as dominant as it was, that wasn't even a drop in the ocean for his ability, which is terrifying. And that sort of speaks to the level of potential we have on our hands. But my second point to that was, I also think your answer pays a lot of respect and shows you what we've got on our hands with Michael Chandler, because we have, with RDA, a previous champion, A very experienced fighter, a lot of cage time, a lot of good wins, a very good competitor in that lightweight division. And we're talking about Chandler being the more impressive win. So that says a lot for him. That says a lot for him. But let's not forget, however established he may be in Bellator, he only has one fight in the UFC. And I'm not saying I mean, he can't do a lot more. He's been given a fight. He's not Dan Hooker out in 6 seconds.
Yeah.
You can't do an awful lot more. But you see my point.
Yeah. And you know what the beautiful thing is as well.
Say it for me.
We gonna find out.
Peace from Casuals Corner.
Peace.